I'm Elle Embers, and this is Cosmic Curiosities. Hey friend, and welcome back to the Cosmic Curiosities, Cosmic Insights. Today we are going to be challenging the way that you think and hopefully even open your eyes to something that might be holding you back without you even realizing it. And that is the lies that we tell ourselves. And I'm not talking about the little white lies that we tell others, but the deeper, more ingrained lies that actually shape our beliefs, the way we live, and even how we see ourselves. So today we're going to dive into where these lies come from, how they limit us, and most importantly, how we can start to unravel them. So let me start with this. Have you ever caught yourself saying something that didn't feel entirely true? Maybe someone asked you how you were feeling, and you were like, I'm fine, when really you weren't. Or maybe you stayed quiet about something that really bothered you because you didn't want to upset anyone or start any conflicts, but you were really, really bothered by it. Does this sound familiar? It's something that we all do. But here's the kicker. It's not just the lies that we tell others that shape us. It's the lies that we tell ourselves. And it's these lies that can truly limit us. I remember when I convinced myself that I wasn't ready to take the next step in my soul therapy career. I kept thinking, I need to learn more, or I need to experience more. I'm not good enough. But in reality, that was just fear holding me back. Once I began to challenge those beliefs, things started to shift. So today we're going to talk about the lies that have the power to hold you back. And these hold us back from living really authentically. These are the lies that exist in the form of judgments, expectations, and comparisons, otherwise known as the 3 limiting beliefs that all humans experience. And these are the ones that shape the image of who we think we are and what we think we're supposed to be. So let's break it down and dive into how these lies form and why they stick around so long. The lies that we tell ourselves generally show up in those 3 main ways: the judgments, expectations, and comparisons. So let me walk you through each one, because understanding them is really the key to unraveling their hold on you. So let's start with judgments. These are the labels we place on ourselves and others. Things like, I'm not smart enough, I'll never be successful, that person is way better than me. These judgments are black and white thoughts that put us into boxes, limiting how we see ourselves and our potential. And more often than not, these judgments don't actually even reflect reality. They actually reflect our fears and our insecurities. I've told myself countless times, I'm not good enough to start this project. I'm not good enough to be here. Only later to realize that was never actually true. I did have all of the skills, all the qualifications, and all of the experience to be a valued asset in that project. So, moving forward with our second lie is expectations. Now, these are the assumptions that we make about how things should be. Think of it as an if-then scenario. For example, if I work hard, then I'll be successful. If I'm nice, then people will like me. And that's not always the case. Expectations are extremely dangerous because they set you up for disappointment and they keep you stuck in a mindset where you are always waiting for a future outcome to validate you in the present. Last on our list is comparisons. And we do this all the time, especially in the age of social media. We compare our lives, our success, and even our happiness to others. Maybe you've looked at someone else's Instagram reels and thought, I'm just not as good as them, or I should be further along in my life. Maybe you've compared your achievements to theirs. The thing about comparisons is that they create an illusion. You are measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel, and that disconnects you from your own unique path because we all have our own journey to walk. So, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we create these false narratives, set these high standards, and convince ourselves that we have to meet them? It starts when we're young. We begin by adapting to our environment. And whether that's trying to meet our parents' expectations or fit into a social group or even living up to general society expectations. Over time, these judgments, expectations, and comparisons become the foundation of how we view ourselves. As kids, we learn to adapt to the world around us. And let's say you were told to not make too much noise. So you learnt to be quiet, even though you wanted to be loud and wanted to express yourself. Or maybe you were praised as a child for getting really good grades. And that has now turned into you believing that your worth is tied to your achievements. These early experiences shape the image that we create of ourselves. And it's an image that we've been reinforcing for years. I was not exactly the quiet child growing up. I had so much energy, and my curiosity sometimes led me to be that kid that was always asking questions, always spoke up. And of course, having psychic and mediumship abilities, as I got older, I learnt that standing out wasn't always seen as a good thing. So I started shrinking myself, and I told myself I needed to fit into the mold that others had of me. Repress those abilities, repress how I actually felt, my emotions, my desires, and be what people needed me to be. Does this sound familiar? As we grow up, we add layers to this image. Things like being the responsible adult, the go-getter, the peacemaker, the good parent, the mom of the group. These roles often don't reflect who we truly are. They reflect who we think we're supposed to be. And we end up playing a part rather than living as our authentic selves. And this is where things get kind of heavy. Because over time, this disconnect between who we are and who we think we should be ultimately leads to burnout, to frustration, to a sense of disbelonging, and even depression. Think about it. If you are constantly acting in a way that doesn't feel true to you, it is exhausting. You are essentially trying to wear a mask and keep up this illusion and uphold an image, but inside, you're feeling disconnected from your real emotions and your true identity. Living in these lies comes at a high cost, and it shows up in different ways for everyone. Maybe you feel drained after social interactions where you weren't truly yourself. Or maybe you feel stuck in a job that doesn't fulfill you, but you stay in it because of this image that you've built around being responsible, being stable and secure. And this might make you start to feel lost, unsure of who you really are, because you've spent so long trying to live up to an image. But I do have some good news. This isn't a permanent state. You can start to unravel these lies and find your way back to your authentic self. And it starts with one simple question. Is this true? Now, whenever I catch myself in a story telling myself I'm not good enough, I'll never be successful, I'm always messing things up, I pause and I ask myself, is this true? And I'm actually surprised at how often the answer is no. Because a lot of the time, these thoughts are based on my fears, on my old habits, my comparisons to others. And it's not actually my reality. It's not factual. So, how can you start breaking down these lies? Well, one of the most effective yet simplest tools is to question the stories that you tell yourself. Every time you have a judgment or an expectation pop into your mind, ask yourself, is this really true? Let's say you're telling yourself, I'm not successful. Is that really true? Or is that just a judgment based on someone else's idea of success? Success looks different for different people. Success is not one thing. So when you start to question these stories, you'll begin to notice how flimsy they actually are. And the lies we tell ourselves tend to crumble when we do dig deeper and challenge them. And another really powerful practice is getting comfortable with saying, I don't know. As humans, we feel the need to label everything as good, as bad, or we obsess about knowing exactly how something will turn out. And when we do this, we create limitations. When we put a label on something, we restrict it to the realms of that label. We think it can't be more than one thing. And something that I always love pointing out that is more than one thing is sunflowers. Because sunflowers are a food, they are a medicine, and they also absorb metals and radiation. They are a polymorph. They can be multiple things at once. And when we start to let go of those labels, when we let go of that need and that desire to know everything and how it will turn out, we create space for new possibilities, new opportunities that we really wouldn't have been open to when we've locked in that label. I don't know opens the door to curiosity and growth. It allows you to explore the realm of endless possibilities, and it takes you out of the past, stops you worrying about the future, and puts you in the present moment where all change really happens. So, the more that you challenge these lies, the more space that you create for your true self to come through. And I'm going to be honest, this process doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing practice of learning and unlearning the stories that no longer serve you. But with each lie that you let go of, you make room for authenticity. You make room for choices that align with who you really are and not who you think you're supposed to be. Imagine what it would feel like to make decisions from a place of truth, to make decisions without worrying about anyone else's expectations. What if you could express yourself openly without fear of judgment? How would that change your life? Because let me tell you, what happens when you start letting go of these lies is you begin to live in alignment with your real values, your true desires, and your authentic self. And what does living in alignment even mean? Alignment is when your thoughts, your words, and your actions all match. Say, for example, I'm thinking about going and doing something fun. Then I tell you, I'm going to go and do something fun. And then I go and do the fun thing. That is me living in alignment. That is me being in complete and utter harmony with my mind, my emotions, and my body. That is what alignment is. And when you are in alignment with yourself, when you are in agreement with yourself, that is when your authentic self can really come to the surface. And here's the big takeaway. Your power, your authenticity is in the present moment. The lies that we tell ourselves are rooted in the past or the future. There are either regrets about what has happened or fears about what might happen. But none of that is real. The only thing that is real is what's happening right now in the present moment. And when you live in the present, you are no longer weighed down by judgments or comparisons. You stop telling yourself about who you should be, and you start experiencing life as it is. And accepting things as it is where freedom really lives. In the here and now, without the need to be anything other than who you are. Well, I hope that this has opened your eyes to some of the lies that you might be telling yourself. And more importantly, given you a couple of tools to start becoming aware of them and unraveling them. Because remember, you don't have to figure everything out all at once. It starts with just a small step. It starts by just beginning to ask, is this true? And see where that takes you. Well, I am always so appreciative to be on this journey with you. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who you think might need to hear this message. But until next time, stay curious, question the lies, and embrace the truth of who you really are. This is your Earthside Spirit Guide signing off. Thanks for joining me for today's Cosmic Insight. If you're ready to unleash the magic of your soul and want to work with me, you can send me a message on Instagram at l.embers or visit my website lembers.com.